Alex Jones back with a breaking news report. Reuters is actually telling the truth. I have spent the last few hours doing a lot of research about the quote, Greek default. Now, you know I'm on record with other financial experts that I've interviewed in the last 6 months saying that Greece would default after getting, quote, multiple bailouts, which are really transferences of U.S. and European citizens' money to the IMF and World Bank, who then openly pay it into Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Bank of England, all these big, massive private cartels, okay? And now it's happened. Quote, two bailouts. Over 90% of the debt's not owed by the public. Their government ministers, open Goldman Sachs employees, revolving door, set this up 3 years ago. That's public information. This is financial terrorism in your face. And this model in Greece and Ireland and Iceland is the admitted model for the rest of the Western nations. The globalists have already bankrupted over and over again and consolidated total control over the third world nations in Latin America, Asia, Africa. They're mopping up the few Arab countries that aren't under their control. So it's a total global financial takeover. And now they're proposing their Bank of the World that you'll pay VAT taxes nationally to, and carbon taxes as well. And the big Rothschild bank runs that. Just type in Rothschilds to run Global Carbon Bank. That's what all of this is about. But I couldn't believe it when researching that Reuters and even other mainstream news admitted what this was really all about. In this article, Greece Defaults, they go on to say that this is basically a planned takeover of Europe and that it's going to spread to other countries. And they have a quote in here by Nicolas Sarkozy, how great this is. This is the beginning of a European monetary fund. See, the International Monetary Fund and World Bank openly go in, give loans at loan sharking rates at third world countries, and in agreements have them agree to never pay it back so they get the resources for pennies on the dollar. The water, the timber, the gold, the population to pay taxes to them, a total takeover. And it goes on to say, the nature of massive precedent-setting international financial deals is that they never happen only once. And they go on to say there's lots of talk that this deal is only for Greece and Greece only. But the language in the communiques, and it goes on, says that it's for all of Europe. You got to go read this. And again, Hitler and Mussolini and the Soviets, before them, people like Napoleon Bonaparte, the British Empire, they would conquer through military force. The finance oligarchs conquer through financial fraud. They build Ponzi schemes. They put out a lot of hot money that's backed up by taxpayers. They get everybody in debt, then they implode it. For every dollar or euro created, there's a dollar of debt created to them out of nothing. That's how they get the whole world. Believe me, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, not the richest guys in the world. The real wealth of the Queen of England, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Dutch royalty on record, their wealth is a state secret. The Rockefellers and others in 1906 put their money into tax-free foundations. Now, I wanted to show you this article. I showed this earlier in another report, but only briefly. It's out of Reuters as well. Raw Story has it. States negotiating immunity for banks over foreclosures. Now, remember, they got rid of Glass-Steagall 12 years ago, back in 99, and they openly allowed the big mega banks to not just fractionally reserve bank. For every dollar they have in reserve, they can loan out 10. It allowed them to create total counterfeit financial instruments, sell them to government, citizens, other corporations. Oh yeah, that's the other part about the Reuters article. They actually got it completely right. In the quote bailout, they call it actually a bail-in, and admit that the select mega banks are the ones being paid the money on fraud they sold, and that other banks and institutions that aren't part of the inner coterie, they are actually not getting their debts paid back that were actually owed by the government and the people of Greece. So see how this works? I mean, this is so incredible. But back to this article, back to this. All over the country, it's come out that hundreds of thousands of houses in the last 3 years, hundreds of thousands, have been taken where the banks didn't even have a deed or never owned any of the house, including houses that were 100% paid for. And now the criminal banks, the same ones, Wachovia, Wells Fargo, and others that were caught laundering $376 billion in narcotics money and didn't even get in trouble. They had to pay a $100 million fine on 300 plus billion. They now are going to be given total immunity and be able to expand what they're doing. And that's what the big mega banks are doing right now, is they are taking the 27 trillion in the U.S. in the last 3 years in bailout money, the tens of trillions in European bailout money that their countries have had to pitch in to the bankers who hold the economy hostage and say, we'll do this or you'll have depression, when you're already going to have one just gradually. It's either us or them. They are engaged in economic conquest. They openly are selling the post-industrial green economy, that it's good to be austere, so we think it's cool to be poor and have our standard of living shut down and the roads not fixed and the space program canceled and everything rotting, but taxes going up because the lion's share of it, like a third world country, goes to the offshore banks. And so it is just so monumental this is happening. Now, I wanted to raise to you this article. Fed audit reveals eye-popping 16 trillion in secret loans to bail out bankers. And Bloomberg has the number of 27 trillion as of a year ago. We haven't got new numbers. But via private lawsuits, they've gotten some of the documents, and this came out a few months ago, but now Senator Bernie Sanders has put out a letter dealing with the audit. And on his senatorial website, he has links to it, and I did some Control-F searching for keywords in this and did confirm the text that he put in his article, that it's admitted that they've done everything they can to keep the 16 trillion secret. And this is all in the big Federal Reserve report. Remember a few years ago when I put it in my film, The Obama Deception and Fall of the Republic, congressmen would say, tell us where the trillions went. And Bernanke says, no. Well, because there were shareholders and other companies that were involved in this, they were able in court to at least get of the 27 trillion from the U.S., 16 trillion of it discovered. And it went to MSNBC to pay for Rachel Maddow's propaganda and anti-gun, anti-family garbage on record. It went to foreign families. It went to private banks. Over 70% of it went to European banks because that's who owns America. And that's what the EU is. Some of the founders of the EU have admitted that it's a receivership arm when they bankrupt countries to politically consolidate it. Remember, Ireland was this, apple of everyone's eye and was going to be the greatest thing ever and had this great economy until they signed on to the euro, and 6 months later were totally imploded. Not because they were insolvent, but because the operatives of Goldman Sachs, again, on record, have been put in to control them. So here's the issue. People ask, how am I still alive? 30 years ago, if you talked about this stuff, they would set you up or kill you. And they still do set people up and kill them. But now, so many millions of people, Ron Paul 20 years ago couldn't get one co-sponsor on in the Fed legislation. He passed it in the House last year, killed in the Senate. It passed the House. They can't kill us all. They can't get to us all. This information is too out in the open now. And these bankers do have unlimited money, but it's through fraud. And so if you're aware of the Ponzi scheme and aware of the scam, it will fold like a house of cards. That's why we've got to get the word out to everybody. They can't get us all. And once you're aware of what they've done, and once you're aware of the fact that the bailout is meant to implode things, and it's not meant to fix things, that things are meant to get worse so they can consolidate control, once you understand that you have no choice but to speak out against them, and you have the courage and believe in humanity, we can turn the tide against these people. But this is outrageous information. Please get it out to everyone you know. And please subscribe to the Alex Jones channel on YouTube. I'll see you back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central, for the live radio show. You can listen at Infowars.com.